Isabella Trump shocked the world when the glamorous granddaughter of a former president was caught in a shocking criminal scandal, unraveling a secret life no one could have imagined. Isabella Trump lived a life that seemed untouchable. Her social media accounts were filled with glossy photos of private jets, luxury yachts, and extravagant vacations. Every snapshot portrayed a life of wealth, glamour, and influence, the kind of life most people only dreamed about. She moved through the world with confidence, attending high-profile charity galas, exclusive fashion events, and private parties that made headlines. Everyone who saw her in public assumed she had everything anyone could ever want: money, status, and power. Yet behind the carefully curated images, there was a growing sense of unease. Friends and acquaintances noticed small inconsistencies in her lifestyle. Despite appearances, Isabella often disappeared for days without explanation. Invitations went unanswered, and even close friends were left wondering where she had gone. Bills for her personal staff and luxury accommodations occasionally went unpaid, raising quiet questions among those who worked for her. People assumed mistakes happened in every wealthy household, but in Isabella's case, these signs hinted at something more serious lurking beneath the surface. She was keeping secrets, carefully choosing what the public could see while hiding what she didn't want anyone to know. The rumors were subtle at first, whispers that Isabella's lifestyle might not be entirely supported by the fortune everyone assumed she had access to. Some speculated that she was struggling with personal debts, while others suggested she might be involved in business ventures her family would not approve of. She had always been independent, often traveling alone or with select friends, but her sudden absences and secretive behavior fueled speculation. People noticed her reliance on discreet messengers, encrypted messages, and unexplained late-night calls. The more those around her observed, the more it became clear that something was not adding up. Despite the rumors, Isabella maintained her image perfectly. Public appearances were flawless, and her charisma made people overlook the small, telling details. The sparkling dresses, designer handbags, and luxury cars were enough to distract from any suspicion. She projected confidence, charm, and wealth, hiding the tension that seemed to grow whenever she was alone. It was this combination of elegance and secrecy that made Isabella's life so intriguing and dangerous. No one could have predicted that beneath the glamorous facade, she was preparing for actions that would shock everyone and draw her into a criminal investigation, forever altering how the world would view her life of privilege. The first sign that Isabella's carefully constructed life was unraveling came from a local boutique known for its high-end jewelry. Store employees noticed a pattern of missing items: expensive necklaces, bracelets, and rings disappearing without any forced entry or obvious theft. At first, the staff assumed internal mistakes or misplaced inventory, but when the losses continued, the boutique contacted authorities. Surveillance footage showed a figure moving through the store with remarkable ease. At first glance, it seemed like any customer, elegantly dressed and composed, but the thief's confidence and precision suggested experience. Investigators were baffled. Each stolen piece appeared to be chosen with a specific purpose, as if the thief knew exactly what they were looking for. When the authorities ran the footage through facial recognition software, the results left them stunned. The woman on camera was unmistakably Isabella Trump. Her identity transformed the investigation from a minor local theft into a high-profile case overnight. News outlets exploded with the revelation, and social media lit up with disbelief. People struggled to reconcile the image of a wealthy socialite with that of someone committing theft. The shock was intensified by Isabella's family name, one associated with power, influence, and public scrutiny. Suddenly, whispers and rumors that had circulated privately became global headlines, and everyone wanted answers. Detectives began piecing together her movements in the weeks leading up to the thefts. Bank statements, travel records, and private security footage painted a picture of secrecy and careful planning. Isabella had been frequenting multiple locations under the guise of social events, but investigators discovered she was also scouting potential targets. Each theft was meticulously timed and executed, leaving almost no trace except for the items themselves. The level of sophistication suggested that this was not a crime of impulse, but a carefully orchestrated series of actions. The public reaction was a mix of shock, curiosity, and disbelief. Commentators debated motives, while conspiracy theories ran rampant online. Friends and acquaintances struggled to understand how someone from a life of wealth could risk everything by committing such crimes. Authorities warned against underestimating her, noting that her charm and access to high society could allow her to navigate obstacles that ordinary criminals could not. The story became more than a case of theft, it was the unraveling of an image, a peek behind the gilded curtain of privilege. What had seemed impossible was suddenly reality. Isabella Trump, living a life of luxury, was now a criminal suspect, and the investigation had only just begun. As the investigation into Isabella's thefts continued, authorities began uncovering a motive that shocked everyone. On the surface, she appeared to have every advantage: wealth, family connections, and social status. But behind the glamour, her finances were far more precarious than anyone suspected. Investigators discovered that Isabella had made a series of risky investments in emerging markets and luxury real estate ventures that had gone disastrously wrong. The losses were staggering, and she was facing mounting debts that even her family's fortune could not immediately cover. What had once seemed like a carefree, privileged life was unraveling under the weight of financial pressure. Further investigation revealed that Isabella's thefts were not random acts of impulse. Each stolen item had been carefully selected for its resale value, and she had established a complex network to move the stolen goods through private buyers and offshore accounts. Detectives found traces of shell companies and secret bank accounts that allowed her to funnel money discreetly, keeping it hidden from authorities and her family. The scale of the operation was astonishing, and it became clear that she had been planning it for months, if not longer. Every move was calculated, demonstrating a level of sophistication that few would expect from someone living in high society. Authorities also discovered that her social events and travels had served a dual purpose. While she appeared to be attending galas, parties, and luxury vacations, Isabella was scouting potential targets, meeting contacts, and orchestrating the logistics of her scheme. Even small details, like her choice of jewelry stores to visit or the timing of her trips, revealed a careful pattern of preparation. She was not simply hiding behind privilege, she was using it as a shield to carry out her plan without raising suspicion. The revelation of her motive stunned the public. Many struggled to reconcile the image of a wealthy socialite with the reality of a calculated criminal operation. Experts on crime and psychology weighed in, noting that desperation, combined with opportunity and knowledge of high society, can drive even the most seemingly protected individuals to take extraordinary risks. Isabella's story became a cautionary tale about appearances, privilege, and the hidden pressures that can lead someone to make choices that shatter lives and reputations. What had started as minor thefts now appeared as part of a sophisticated, high-stakes plan, one that would leave lasting consequences for her and everyone around her. Isabella Trump's arrest was a media storm unlike anything the city had seen in years. Paparazzi and news crews crowded around the courthouse, capturing every moment as she was escorted inside. The charges against her were extensive: theft, fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. Each allegation added a new layer of shock to the story, and the public watched with a mix of fascination and disbelief. Social media erupted with commentary, speculation, and memes, while traditional news outlets dissected every detail of the investigation. For a woman who had seemed untouchable, the fall was swift and dramatic. Inside the courthouse, the arrest documents revealed just how complex Isabella's operation had been. Investigators detailed how she had used her knowledge of high-end markets and social connections to plan each theft, launder the proceeds, and obscure her involvement. They outlined the intricate network of accounts, intermediaries, and shell companies she had relied on to funnel stolen items and convert them into cash. It was clear that this was not a case of impulsive behavior, but a meticulously orchestrated scheme, executed with precision over months. Legal experts noted that the scope of the charges would likely keep her in court for an extended period, and the potential penalties were severe. The public reaction was immediate and polarized. Some people were fascinated, seeing the story as a real-life thriller, while others were outraged, questioning how someone from such a prominent family could risk everything by committing serious crimes. Commentators debated the role of privilege, wondering whether Isabella's social status had initially allowed her to evade suspicion. Meanwhile, her family issued a carefully worded statement, expressing shock and concern and emphasizing the importance of the legal process. Despite the formal tone, the statement could not contain the storm of attention and scrutiny that followed. Even as the investigation continued, more details emerged. Financial experts analyzed the pattern of thefts and laundered funds, highlighting the ingenuity behind the scheme. Legal analysts speculated on how the case might unfold in court, and criminologists examined how privilege and desperation had intersected in Isabella's actions. Every new revelation added fuel to a story that was already gripping the nation. In a matter of weeks, Isabella's carefully crafted public image, once synonymous with glamour, wealth, and influence, was replaced by headlines questioning her morality, choices, and future. The arrest was not just the end of one chapter in her life, but the beginning of a public saga that would continue to unfold in unexpected ways. Just when the public believed the story of Isabella Trump had reached its peak, a shocking twist emerged that sent the case into uncharted territory. As investigators dug deeper into her financial records and communications, they uncovered evidence suggesting that Isabella may not have acted alone. Hidden emails, encrypted messages, and suspicious transactions pointed to a mysterious accomplice, someone with insider knowledge of her finances who appeared to have guided parts of the operation. This revelation transformed the narrative from a tale of a privileged young woman acting out of desperation into a complex story of manipulation, secrecy, and betrayal. The accomplice seemed to understand Isabella's lifestyle and leverage it to execute their plan. Investigators theorized that this shadowy figure had orchestrated some of the thefts, carefully coordinating with her to exploit her access to high-end boutiques and private markets. Every move that once seemed to be a solitary act now suggested a deeper level of planning and cunning. Law enforcement officials described the situation as unusually sophisticated, noting that the collaboration between Isabella and this unknown figure had allowed the operation to continue for months without detection. The revelation left experts and the public alike questioning everything they thought they knew about her motives and methods. As the court proceedings began, the media frenzy intensified. Headlines speculated about the identity of the accomplice, while analysts debated whether Isabella was a mastermind in her own right or someone manipulated by a more cunning partner. The trial became a spectacle, attracting attention not only for the high-profile name involved, but also for the dramatic twists that continued to emerge. Every new piece of evidence added layers to the story, showing that the crimes were far more intricate than initially believed. What had begun as an apparent case of financial desperation now resembled a calculated and multifaceted criminal enterprise. The shocking twist also had profound personal consequences. Isabella's relationships with friends and family were strained under the weight of scrutiny, suspicion, and betrayal. Trust eroded as those closest to her struggled to understand how such a network could have operated right under their noses. Public opinion oscillated between outrage, sympathy, and morbid fascination. By the time the trial reached its midpoint, it was clear that Isabella Trump's story would become a cautionary tale about the dangers of hidden desperation, the vulnerabilities of privilege, and the complexities of human ambition. In the end, the glamorous life she had projected for so long was exposed as a fragile facade. And the shocking truth reminded the world that even the most polished appearances can conceal dark, unexpected realities.